Here we go. Jerry Sandusky tells his side of the story. He admits to horsing around and showering with kids. His words, not mine. Who and what are we to believe now? We'll try to answer that question and others. How do child molesters get away with these crimes? Why do victims and even trusted adults remain silent? If people could stop a pedophile, would they? Let's get started. Good evening and welcome to this special edition of our show. Now we are hearing from Jerry Sandusky for the very first time since he was arrested. He says he is not a pedophile, but what he admits to, well, I don't know what you call it, but it's pretty close to pedophilia. I don't know what. Listen to this.
Mr. Sandusky, there's a 40-count indictment. A reasonable person says where there's this much smoke, there must be plenty of fire. What do you say?
I say that I am innocent of those charges.
That's what former Penn State assistant coach Jerry Sandusky told Bob Costas last night in an interview for NBC's Rock Center with Brian Williams.
I have horsed around with kids. I have showered after workouts. I have hugged them, and I have touched their leg without intent of sexual contact.
And then Costas asked Sandusky about his contact with children and previous allegations from an alleged victim's mother.
During one of those conversations, you said, I understand, I was wrong, I wish I could get forgiveness, speaking now with the mother. I know I won't get it from you. I wish I were dead.
I didn't say, to my recollection, that I wish I were dead. Well, in retrospect, I shouldn't have showered with those kids.
Are you a pedophile?
No. Am I sexually attracted to
Yes.
underage boys? Sexually attracted? No, I enjoy young people. I love to be around them. But no, I'm not sexually attracted to young boys.
Horsing around in the shower with children. And now he says, maybe I shouldn't have done that. Maybe not. Well, first of all, I don't know why his attorney let him have that interview. We're going to talk about that in just a second. But this is guilt on guilt. You know, the specifics I don't need to hear anymore. I'm already completely disgusted. All right, joining me to talk about this, Keith Evans. He is a former NFL player, an advocate for victims of childhood sexual abuse, and an NFL Network analyst. Michelle Golland is a clinical psychologist. Trent Copeland is a criminal defense attorney. And on the phone, Peter Palullo. He himself was abused as a child. His organization, Let Go, Let Peace Come In, is working with one or more of Jerry Sandusky's alleged victims. Trent, why did the attorney let him do this interview?
You know, you and I had the same discussion several weeks ago when we talked about Conrad Murray.
Same exact thing.
And we had the lawyer who allowed his client to give this 2-hour-plus interview. I don't understand for the life of me why a lawyer would allow his client, who has so much exposure, who has so many things to answer for, to start that answering process outside of court of law. Because, look, remember, all of these statements that he's given now to Bob Costas, to these various television and radio networks, any of that stuff is all discoverable, and he can be, it's all incriminating, and it all
sounds like some laws were broken there in my mind. It's all kinds of inappropriate conduct.
There's clearly been inappropriate touching. That is a battery in and of itself. It's a sexual battery. And he's admitted to it.
How about being naked in a shower with a 10-year-old? This is unbelievable. Peter, you yourself were a victim of this kind of behavior. What are your thoughts on hearing the Sandusky interview?
Well, what's sad, Dr. Drew, is that an interview and statements like this just re-victimizes these young men once again. It was clear to me, obviously this man's in complete denial and displays the classic characteristics of being a significant narcissistic person. Making it about how everyone's misunderstanding him and his innocent actions of taking a shower with the boys is ludicrous at best. As a survivor, and as I write in my own book, and as the young men from Penn State described in the grand jury report, the type of sexual violations and acts are not from merely being in a shower with this man. It's just beyond comprehension that he would get on and
Yeah, just the fact that he could think that that's an adequate defense. Now, Heath, you work with an organization that works with abused kids. Your wife herself is a survivor. What do you make of the Sandusky interview?
You know what? I love the tough questions that Bob Costas asked.
He was brutal.
It really kind of led us into the mind of Sandusky, the way he kind of shied around answers, but ultimately how delusional this man is, that he truly doesn't see anything wrong with his actions.
Michelle, isn't that the issue? He's doing these completely inappropriate things and going, I guess maybe I shouldn't have done that.
Exactly. He wants to make it about the victim's feelings and interpretations, right? He said at one point, well, I'm really sorry that if he felt that way about it. Right. You know, it becomes this sort of like, it's just a simple touch, or it's just a simple thing. It's so manipulative.
There was also a peculiar quality of what the interview, that Bob was asking some very hard questions. I mean, I personally wouldn't ask those questions because I'd be afraid the guy would go kill himself if I exposed I'm fearful for this guy's well-being, Sandusky, right now, frankly.
So am I. Look, we have the issue of the bail and the fact that he really doesn't have a bail because it's an unsecured bond. I'm concerned about this guy's well-being.
Yeah.
When I hear this guy, I'm not sure he'll ever even really make it to stand judgment in the trial, because this is someone who clearly seems to be unstable, irrational. He's trying to justify experiences,
completely inappropriate things,
all kinds of inappropriate contact with children as being simply a misunderstanding.
And then, Michelle, hold on. There's one other thing, though. He's also, whenever Bob Costas asks him how he feels, his response is, well, how do you think I feel? That's not how he feels. No. He's avoiding because he doesn't feel anything, maybe, no, or he only feels the way people, real sociopaths will only put out what they think other people want.
Well, that's what he is. And I have to say, I don't know if he's going to kill himself, because there may be enough narcissism in him that narcissists don't like to kill themselves. They just want to prove themselves right.
Except when their narcissistic shield is truly ruptured. Trent, you have a comment?
Look, I think he's entitled to the presumption of innocence. Look, I believe in our Constitution with the greatest country going. I believe in that. I think he's entitled to that presumption. But this does not sound like a rational man. This does not sound like someone who really understands the fundamental problem with what he's done with these children, even as much as showering with them, touching them inappropriately. Those are all, from a legal standpoint, he's already committed a crime, and I'm frankly outraged that he'd come on national television.
As you say, Dr. Drew, it is the gift that keeps on giving, and we've discussed, we think this guy was probably a victim himself, and so he can't even really truly wrap his mind around what he's done to these victims because it was done to him, and he's just stepped back. I'm not in this.
Guys, we got a lot more to talk about. You're going to stay with me throughout the course of this show. Thank you so much for those comments. I personally am deeply, deeply unsettled by those comments. I don't know where this is going to go with Sandusky, but it doesn't seem like it's going to go to a very good place. Next, a grown man witnessed the rape of a 10-year-old boy, but did not stop it. How did that happen? We'll try to look at that and many more on this special, many more questions and tough questions, hopefully. This is our special edition. Stay tuned.
This is a call. It's our time and it's our duty. This serves as the ultimate wake-up call. If this isn't enough to wake us up and get motivated and look at one another and be a protector of one another, if this isn't a good enough wake-up call, then I don't know what is.
Dr. Drew, brought to you by SALONPAS. Nothing's been proven to beat the relief.
You name it, I've tried it. But nothing helped me beat my back pain. Then I tried SALONPAS. It's powerful relief that works at the site of pain and lasts up to 12 hours. SALONPAS. Nothing's been proven to beat the relief.
Hey, you want that? You want a warm, super delicious strawberry toaster strudel. Yeah, but no, I have nothing to eat. Sure you do. Hey, you can have the Pop-Tart. Pillsbury toaster strudel, the one kids want to eat.
Let's ring you up. Mary? What are you doing here?
It's Megan. I'm getting new insurance.
Marjorie, you've had a policy with us for 3 years.
It's been 5 years.
5 years.
Well, Progressive gives Megan discounts that you guys didn't.
Paperless, safe driver, and I get great service.
Meredith, what's shaking, bacon?
They'll figure it out.
Getting you the discounts you deserve. Now that's Progressive. Call or click today.
Let's give a warm welcome to Martha Borst.
Take a look at these hands. That's rheumatoid arthritis. They've experienced the pain of turning a key and the frustration of trying to button a blouse. And they're the reason I had to ask myself, Am I settling for how I'm living with RA, or could I get more out of the life I'm living? Settling or living? What about you? Go to realraliving.com or call this number to get information that could help you see where you stand with your RA. The truth is, RA isn't going to go away, but it doesn't have to stand in your way. Go to realraliving.com. Call this number. Don't let the fear and frustration of RA decide your future. Get the facts. When it comes to your RA, are you settling or are you living?
Now join Martha Borst for a webinar created for RA patients like you.
Ask me.
Even if you think you can live with your old mattress,
ask me how I've never slept better.
Why not talk to one of the 6 million people who've switched to the most highly recommended bed in America? It's not a Sealy, a Simmons, or a Serta.
Ask me about my Tempur-Pedic.
Ask me how I can finally sleep all night.
Ask me how great my back feels every morning.
Did you know there's a Tempur-Pedic for everybody? Tempur-Pedic beds now come in soft, firm, and everything in between.
Ask me how I don't wake up anymore when he comes to bed.
These are real Tempur-Pedic owners. Ask someone you know. Check out Twitter or your friends on Facebook. You'll hear it all, unedited. Tempur-Pedic brand owners are more satisfied than owners of any traditional mattress brand. Now, just in time for the holidays, you have the chance to win the perfect gifts from Tempur-Pedic, including the bed of your dreams. Our Snuggle Up and Win sweepstakes starts soon. Enter at snuggleupandwin.com today. Tempur-Pedic, the most highly recommended bed in America.
Jerry's very, very depressed. He's very upset. He's very distraught about the charges, the allegations, and the knowledge that regardless of whether he eventually proves his guilt or innocence, that people are going to think that he did this stuff.
Jerry Sandusky has been arrested and charged with 40 counts of sexual abuse of young boys. He is currently out on an unsecured bond. Now, for the rest of the show tonight, we are exploring the tough questions all of us have been asking since this abuse scandal broke out last week. First, right now, I want you to listen to what eyewitness Mike McQuarrie told a grand jury about what he saw. Now, this is graphic. Please, I warn you, I didn't even want to read this myself, I must tell you. But let's deal with what's in the record. Here it is. As the graduate assistant coach entered the locker room doors, he was surprised to find the lights and showers on. He saw a naked boy whose age he had estimated to be 10 years of age being subjected to anal intercourse by a naked Sandusky. The graduate assistant was shocked but noticed that both saw him. The graduate assistant left immediately distraught. Now, when many of us first heard what went down with victim number 1, who is referenced in that quote, first question, how could an eyewitness to a child sex abuse crime not intervene? And I mean, it's easy for us as armchair quarterbacks to sit back and go, run to the police. I think most of us would. But this young man ran to his family, who then took him to the administration. He believed he was unloading it to everyone he needed to who was in authority. It's a case in point for the rest of us. Go to the police. Go to the authorities. Now, I want to turn to a special guest tonight. Ed Smart is the father of Elizabeth Smart. Elizabeth was abducted from their home in 2002 at age 14 and held captive by a known child sex offender and his wife. Now, Ed, you have your daughter today because someone intervened. Thoughts on McQuarrie not doing something in that moment, perhaps?
I think it's inexcusable. I think he should have stepped right out there and stopped and saved that boy. I mean, I don't know how long we are going to keep listening to these types of stories. What we really need to do is step up to the plate and empower these children to be able to say no to these people. I'm
afraid you're right. I'm afraid you're right, Ed. Now, Heath, if you saw what was going on there, I mean, you know a lot about this. You know to jump in, do whatever it takes. I mean, even knowing what I know, I think I would have a hard time not, like, running to a law enforcement. I'm not sure I would have the even wherewithal to... You know what I mean? It would shock you so much. You just, like, walk out in a daze. I understand that.
Well, as a small child, I mean, it's ingrained in our DNA. You go to the cops. You run to the police. And the thing is, too, yeah, you go tell a head coach and you run to your dad and you do so-called the right thing. But, you know, months pass by, weeks pass by, and nothing's being done about this situation. You still see this guy on campus, then do something.
And then he worked for them for a long time. You wonder how he was able to work in that organization. Michelle, you're shaking your head.
I have to say, the problem is that this guy, the assistant coach, was 27. He also went to his father and his family, and they didn't take action. Right. It's this bystander effect that we don't empower enough for other people to intervene in a dangerous or frightening situation. And we have to.
And Trent, now we have a situation where a judge is doing some things that look somewhat suspect. I mean, shouldn't everyone in and around that campus be behaving in a way that is, you know, sort of cannot be reproached in any way?
Yes. I don't think there's no question about it. And look, for me, I look at this two different ways. First of all, the judge has done something that I think is absolutely inexcusable. Look, the judicial system and our confidence in the judicial system can only work if we believe that there are no backroom deals, people aren't acting shady. We can't have a judge who looks at this case where there are multiple victims, multiple witnesses, and have a judge say, look, I'm going to send this guy out on an unsecured bond. And what that means is, look, he didn't have to post any money. He didn't have to post a bail. He was able to walk in that courtroom and then walk out without having to do anything. Let me very quickly,
and with nothing, no monitor. And I think people don't understand how bizarre that is as a standard.
Be more bizarre because typically speaking, if you have a traffic ticket in some instances and you fail to appear, the judge will typically order you to post a bond of $2,500 on a traffic ticket. Something. These are serious allegations. This is molestation of multiple children. And the fact that this judge let this guy walk out of the courtroom without posting anything, without taking his passport, without shackling his leg, without putting an electronic monitor on that leg is outrageous. But let me quickly respond to this. Look, we talk about going to the police. A 27-year-old graduate assistant. This was also a former football player.
Yes.
This, not only should this guy have gone to the police, but before he went to the police, how he could not have walked into that shower and taken some physical action.
I can excuse him.
I can't understand.
We can't understand. It's easier for us to say that, but I can understand somebody being so like, did I see that? Like questioning themselves, walk out, talking to themselves, like, what did I just see? And then run to the cops. I don't understand not doing something after you kind of.
I think that this is where this whole conspiracy of greed, power, money, and career. And that's what he was concerned about.
Oh,
and
you think
quite frankly,
career?
Absolutely.
Oh, boy.
And I think that's what his father was concerned about. And I think that's what everyone's been concerned
about. Ed, go ahead. It's smart. Go ahead.
When are we going to teach our kids when somebody crosses this line? I don't care what you do something, you say no, and our kids are empowered to do this, because I've had several people in the past say, you can't put the responsibility on the child. Well, that just isn't true. It's the child that's being abused. And the child needs to know where those limitations are. When somebody makes them feel uncomfortable, say no and know what their options and choices are. We are just not providing the skills and the opportunities for our children to be able to say no.
Well, the problem is that children have child brains, and they don't have the power to deal with the manipulation. You know what? Sandusky is a sexual predator, okay? A predator is someone who knows exactly what they're doing. They are manipulative. He is cunning. He probably started this organization, and that we can't expect.
And a good predator chooses their victim carefully.
Of course. And we expect a child to be able to stand up when a 27-year-old man doesn't go in there.
But I do agree with Ed. I do agree with Ed. We've got to do what we can to educate kids.
To strengthen and
Trent's trying to say something. Go ahead, Trent.
There's no question.
What we do, though, what we do is we talk to children, and we say, don't do this or don't do that. But we don't train them. We don't give them the skills, and they don't know what their options or choices are. And I understand children shouldn't have to be responsible. But in this day and age, we will hear case after case after case, which you will highlight. And until we really take on the responsibility of training and helping our children to understand, I believe that if we do help our children to understand and we empower them, that they can say no and they can stop the abuse from happening. I understand we need to do everything else we can do, but we can't say that, no, the children are too little, we can't ask them to help themselves. I'm not placing any blame on the child.
Ed, but wouldn't you agree, Ed, that in circumstances like this, where we just don't know what the relationship was between Sandusky and this child, we really don't even know whether or not the child might have said no. This might have been a forcible rape. This might have been the child saying at some point, look, you know what? I don't want to be a part of this.
Usually they don't work like that, though. Usually they manipulate and shower gifts on them and do all that kind of good stuff. I mean, they're much slicker than that.
I'm sure there was some grooming involved.
Yeah.
I'm certain that some of the more traditional ways that a molester takes advantage of these children took place there. But in this scenario, we simply don't know what happened because we saw a grown man, a 56-year-old man, all over a child that was 10 years old.
He was just horsing around. How dare you? Just horsing around in the shower, naked with a young boy. Hang on a second. The panel, good job. Coming up next, this is an emotional time for the students in Happy Valley, and we have to remember that they, too, are just kids, but did the students initially care more about the football coach than the crimes against children perpetrated by one of their own? We're going to try to answer that question next, so don't go away.
It's so important to put the victims first. I think they've gotten really lost in all of this. You know, all the media attention has been focused on Sandusky and the university and our reactions, and it should be focused on helping these victims and stopping it from happening again.
So, I'm my own man. I can work from home. I can make meetings, I can make deadlines, I can make proposals, I can remember birthdays, I can entertain clients, I can pay for lunch. Yeah, I can do it 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 3:15. I can do anything. Done. On it. Yes. Taken care of. 50 two-sided bound and color presentations by tomorrow. I can do that. How do I do that? I love logistics.
You think your toothpaste is working? Let's find out.
This shows your plaque germs?
Okay. Those are germs?
Yep, Germ City.
You want to see a Colgate Total now? Yes. See? A lot less germs with Colgate Total.
Big difference.
Colgate Total. Start fighting germs for 12 hours.
Some scholars believe it wasn't an apple, but a ruby-red, antioxidant-rich pomegranate with which Eve tempted Adam. And only Pom Wonderful has the juice of 4 whole pomegranates and is backed by modern science. Powerful then, Pom Wonderful now.
I raced down that hill without a helmet. I took some steep risks in my teens. I'd never ride without one now. And since my doctor prescribed Lipitor, I won't go without it for my high cholesterol and my risk of heart attack. Why kid myself? Diet and exercise weren't lowering my cholesterol enough. Now I'm eating healthier, exercising more, taking Lipitor. Numbers don't lie. My cholesterol has stayed down.
Lipitor is FDA approved to reduce the risk of heart attack and stroke in patients who have heart disease or risk factors for heart disease. It's backed by over 19 years of research.
Lipitor is not for everyone, including people with liver problems and women who are nursing, pregnant, or may become pregnant. You need simple blood tests to check for liver problems. Tell your doctor if you are taking other medications or if you have any muscle pain or weakness. This may be a sign of a rare but serious side effect.
Still love that wind in my face. Talk to your doctor. Don't kid yourself about the risk of heart attack and stroke. If Lipitor's been working for you, stay with it. Lipitor may be available for as little as $4 a month with the Lipitor copay card. Terms and conditions apply. Learn more at LipitorForYou.com.
The look of jeans, the feel of pajamas. It's pajama jeans. Designer denim jeans with smooth butt-lifting design and stylish boot cut. Cotton spandex with Dormasoft lining stretches to fit every figure. They come in every pant size, from petite to plus, for the perfect fit. Jeans could cost $80. Now get the same stylish look with pajama jeans for just $39.95. Look for the cozy, stylish pajama jeans in a gift box at these fine retailers. It's the perfect gift.
You love the taste of 2% milk, but think about your heart. 2% has over half the saturated fat of whole milk. Want to cut back on fat and not compromise on taste? Try Smart Balance fat-free milk. It's what you'd expect from the folks at Smart Balance.
HLN tomorrow night. Penn State community churches come together in support for the alleged child sex abuse victims. Dr. Drew talks with the pastor who put it all together. Dr. Drew, HLN tomorrow night, 9 Eastern.
We think it's absolutely ridiculous that he got fired over this sort of situation.
The second I heard it, tears were in my eyes. He's done so much for our university, and it's not even funny. In 10 minutes, he got $10 million, something like that, for our library. What a guy.
We're here to get Joe Pop for our last home game. He's retiring this season. Let him play his last game. It's that simple.
Well, those were the initial reactions of the students last week when Joe Paterno was fired. But when game day arrived on Saturday, there was much more united front for the victims as the fans wore blue in support. Now, it seems like the students initially cared more about football and JOPA than the crimes against these children perpetrated by one of their own. Heath, football is a religion to some people. Still, wasn't this reaction a little bit disturbing? At least they brought it all the way around.
Very true. And it was loyalty that moved to insanity. And that's really what it was. And listen, we're all loyal. I mean, that's what makes the game of football so great inside a coaching staff, inside a locker room. But they moved from the loyalty factor into insanity. They couldn't even get past what JOPA's done for the school in the midst of what he had done to these victims.
But I think they did. I got to defend the students. I've been talking to students all week long and last week, and I do think they have come around finally. Yes. But Michelle, you're still outraged at this entire situation. We keep trying to process
I have to say, my feelings about Joe Paterno is that he has an opportunity to actually be the hero he was supposed to be. Everyone thinks that he's the hero because of what he has done at Penn State. I hope, as a child rights advocate, that this is when our country has a paradigm shift around sexual predators. And Joe Paterno has the opportunity to make that impact.
And Trent, last to you a question. Do you think there's something going on? I get this funny feeling something's going on our college campuses where the administrations feel insulated from the law of the land and from the law enforcement organizations locally, that they handle we'll handle everything. It's our internal problem. Yeah. I'm hearing that's a nationwide issue. Are we uncovering something bigger here about how college university administrations function?
I don't think there's any question about it. And look, we don't have to look very far. We can look to the Catholic diocese. We can look to that scandal. It's an institutional problem. And the problem is that they become so insulated, so within their own world, their own realm of how they operate and function. They have their own governmental entities. Remember, Catholic diocese has its own institutional
But at least you could point to that and go, that's church and state issue. I mean, at least it kind of like, you could almost get your hand up. But listen, when the administration goes, well, we'll handle it, and they don't airlift child protective services in, or the local law enforcement, look, how is that possible? And what else is going on? Listen, by the way, there's drinking going on college campuses, there's drug use going on college campuses that gets blushed across. And college administrators say it should be legalized. That's right. I say there's a problem there.
It's always been that way, and they do it because it's always been that way, and that's not an excuse.
I think we've got something has to
change. It's about money. It comes down to money and power and donors and college student applications. And I don't know about you, Dr. Drew, but where do you want to send your college student? You certainly aren't going to send your child to some place that they're going to report the rapes that actually happen or the date rapes or any of that.
Okay. Well, this is a panel I'd like to invite back soon. Boy, I got a break right now. Now, next, do you know if your, listen to this, husband, boyfriend, close friend is a child molester? And how could you not know? Some answers after the break.
What do you get when you become a Citi Thank You Premier Card member? 50,000 thank you points when you spend $2,500. That's right, 50,000 thank you reward points. But what can you get with those 50,000 points?
I got this amazing flat screen TV.
For only 41,000 points, I got a kayak for weekends at the lake.
We used our points to get $500 in gift cards for our nephews.
In addition to 50,000 thank you points, you also get a companion airline ticket on us right away. And another airline ticket every year after that. Call 800-634-7155 now. Become a card member and earn 50,000 thank you points and airline tickets. And you'll also get our 0% introductory APR offer. Plus, no annual fee for the first year. There are no point caps, no expiration on points, and no blackout dates. Call 800-634-7155 today for your Citi Thank You Premier Card. Or visit Citi.com/rewards.
Exclusive. She's the first country music singer to publicly say, I'm gay. Shelley Wright tells Joy how hard it was to share this and what she was afraid of. HLN tonight, 10 Eastern.
Do even the smallest movements feel like a 1,000-pound gorilla is stomping through your home? Then you need to call Alabama Foundation Specialist. Symptoms that indicate you need to install our Titan floor support system include cracked sheetrock above doors or windows, uneven floors, doors that won't close or swing open by themselves. Call Alabama Foundation Specialist. We support everything you love.
I am folding the pants.
pants are long. Do they go on my head? Do they? Do the pants go on my head? No. They go on...
Everyday moments can become teaching moments because learning starts long before school does. Give your child the start they need at bornlearning.org.
Penn State child sex abuse scandal envelops the nation.
Penn State in the midst of the biggest child sex abuse scandal to rock college sports.
What head coach Joe Paterno knew and when he knew it.
We discuss how a witness to child sexual assault could fail to intervene. Next, I'm asking, why did loved ones of the victims miss the signs? And how do pedophiles insert themselves quietly into our trusted institutions? These are groups dedicated to improving the lives of children, but they are magnets for molesters. Welcome back. Tonight, we're looking at the tough questions in the Penn State child sex abuse scandal and trying to come up with some answers. One question that has a lot of people talking is, how could an alleged predator's family not know about his, shall we call it, his other life? Joining our discussion, Jerry Fisher. He's a former board member at Sandusky's charity, The Second Mile. Jerry, you knew Jerry, Mr. Sandusky, and how do you figure people didn't know what was going on, or perhaps did they? I had somebody say that, well, he always had these young kids around him, but your brain fills in and goes, well, he's just trying to help them out. You come up with your own explanation for why the kids are always around him. Looking back, you kind of shake your head and go, I wonder if I should have thought more of those things.
Well, when I think back of the times I've seen Jerry Sandusky around young children, he is a very amiable guy. He's a guy that had a lot of fun with the kids. He had a lot of fun with the adults. There were many gatherings of Second Mile functions that everybody just had a really good time together, and it was a multitude of people, adults and children alike. Your guest could probably attribute to this more than I can, but I've been told that child molesters are very, very manipulative. They know how to make things work to their advantage, et cetera, et cetera. And he just was very good at what he did. If these allegations are all true, he had a lot of people very, very fooled throughout his career.
Michelle, you're shaking your head yes.
Well, I have to say, I've thought a lot about this and how it is in our society that we're going to be able to actually change the tide of this. And what has to happen, Dr. Drew, is we have to see sexual predators, particularly pedophile, child rapists, and sexual abusers, just like we do serial killers. This is no different. They are manipulative. They plan it. They do all of the things to set it up, except they don't kill their victim. They anally rape their victim.
Well, but you're talking
That's what they do.
Listen, people aren't aware. We're talking a lot about the abuse of males here. Trent, you must see in the courts the young girls being abused even more frequently than the males. I know I do in my clinical work.
Statistics bear that out. Statistics are that, typically females are more widely abused
and
than
by
males
people closer to them, too.
By people closer to them, and typically it's family members.
I think it's only because the females report it more and the males are too rough and tough to actually come out and say this happened to me.
I think that has something to do with it. And you should also bear in mind that, look, the average molester molests to the degree of about 117 victims.
Okay.
We've got 8 or 9 in this instance, so I expect that there's probably going to be more. And the reason for that is because they're so good at what they do. There's this grooming period. There's this process of manipulating the children. They give them gifts. They take them places. They make them feel good. And typically those people begin to associate with them on a very positive level. And for that reason, some people don't always report it.
Well, not only that, we are hearing from the kids that are in treatment now of Sandusky's little population. They feel bad for Sandusky. They feel bad for the football program. They identify with the abuser.
That is the natural train of thought. Even with my poor wife, for years, she felt so bad for people around her. And I'm pleading, Beth, please listen to me. I'm worried about you and your emotional status and your mind and your heartbeat and your life. And these predators, they inflict mental wounds. It's like emotional cancer that just eats these victims alive. And then now you're hearing these people say, I feel bad about the football program and I feel bad for Joe Paul. And really, the message is, screw those people. They're the ones that hurt you. They could have set you free.
But I really, really believe, Dr. Drew, we have got to change the laws around sentencing. That is the key to stopping this.
Trent was an attorney here. What do you think? Is she going to have any luck there?
Well, frankly, changing the laws of sentencing, it will take a lot of time because it will have to go at the legislative level. We'll have to start there. But the reality is the laws are stiff. I mean, there are, child predator laws
that judge the letter of the law wrong.
The problem is in the investigative role of the prosecuting agencies. I think people simply are not reporting these things, and I don't think, because most of these children are being molested by family members, I simply don't think it has ever seen the light of day.
Doctor, I've got a buddy, and here's the thing that got me involved with this after Beth Ann. In Montgomery, Alabama, a girl, 3 years, raped viciously for 3 years. A judge convicted this predator of rape and first-degree assault. He got 60 days in the county jail because they said sexual abuse predators cannot be rehabilitated. Are you kidding me? 60 days in the county jail. This young girl's life was ravaged for 3 years, and his main excuse was 60 days county jail. We can't rehabilitate this guy, so why should he waste time in our jails?
And that's the thing.
Michelle asked a question. How do you think the wife and people around these individuals cannot know that this guy's an abuser?
I think they are highly manipulative.
Well, by the way, the wives of abusers typically often abuse themselves.
Right.
Yes. Yeah, so they actually to admit to themselves that they brought another perpetrator into their life. They brought another perpetrator into their life. They are shattered by that. They won't even look at it. But I have a question for all of this panel here. 117 victims for the average victimizer. Isn't anybody here outraged that for years, probably 15 or 20 years, those of us that have worked in and around this problem, we're hearing constantly, oh, it's just something we're talking about more now. It's always been around, but we're just discussing it more now. It is growing like a cancer in our society. Do we all agree with that?
Yes. It is an insidious disease. It is eating at the very fabric of our families, the very fabric of the relationships that we have with people, and certainly people are talking about it more because it's part of the national dialogue. But the reality is this is an insidious disease that is destroying the fabric of our society.
Well, and sex sells everything this day and age. We wonder why our young men grow up with this perverse mindset of women are property. We take them as we please. We abuse them. And the men stuff, I don't even understand.
But the issue around these pedophile sexual predators is that many of them were abused as children themselves.
Okay, stop there. I want to stop there. I'm going to go to Jerry Fisher, who's still... Poor Jerry is standing in the rain. I want to get to you, Jerry, and I appreciate you coming out with us tonight. We've gone off into outer space with our little panel here because we are people that work with this problem all the time and have for years, and it really gets us going. I guess the question that Michelle raised here that I want to raise with you, has Jerry ever talked about himself surviving adversity in his childhood?
No, I've never heard anything about that in my conversations with him. And as I said on the show with you last week, I've introduced him hundreds of times at events and functions through to benefit the Second Mile. And there really hasn't been anything like that come up in any of our conversations, nor have I heard anybody talk about anything like that around Jerry Sandusky. That would be a big surprise to me.
Although, in my world, if either a lot of people that worked in the service of the at-risk youth, either themselves were hurt or they have worked with it so long they've come up to understand that it's a big issue. My question, Jerry, going out to you over the last couple minutes here is, Second Mile is an important mission. How is it going to carry on? What is it going to do to get on from here?
Well, the executive director and president, Dr. Jack Rakovich, resigned today. A lot of people are waiting to see if anyone else resigns. One of the big things I'm kind of pushing for is I would really like to see someone step up and pick up where the Second Mile might leave off if it does indeed go away. There were 100,000 people, 100,000 kids that benefited from the Second Mile's organization. It would be a shame if every one of those poor kids doesn't get the benefits that they've gotten before. I would hope that someone could help pick it up, whether it be 50 kids, 100 kids, 1,000 kids, or 5,000 kids. There are a lot of kids out there that were touched by the Second Mile in a very, very positive way. Yeah. And if we can find someone to try to keep that role going, that would be tremendous for these kids who do need some help. There are kids that need help, and I'm sure your panel understands
Jerry,
that as well.
and I hope you will pick up the crucible and continue to work with at-risk youth. Those of us listening to this program tonight, we cannot let this problem go away and somehow shy away from the service of those in need because we're fearful of being accused of something. That's not at all what we're talking about here tonight. We're talking about getting at the people that are the perpetrators and continuing to serve those in need. Jerry Fisher, I hope that you're able to pick up the good work and continue in the manner which it was intended. Thank you, Trent, Michelle.
Well, and I implore a lot of other people to try to do the same.
You betcha. Okay, next, the Catholic Church, the Boy Scouts, and now Penn State football, all embroiled in scandal. Now, we're going to talk a little bit about why pedophiles tend to head towards these institutions. We're going to try to answer that when we return.
Lessons in Flight, Korean Air.
I'm your GPS. Turn right up ahead. You never update me, so now I just have to wing it. I meant turn left up ahead. Recalculating. Turn right now! And your 15-minute insurance might not pay for all this. So get Allstate. You can save money and be better protected from mayhem, like me. Recalculating.
Dollar for dollar, nobody protects you from mayhem like Allstate.
Chex Party Mix. Easy 15-minute homemade recipes you just pop in a microwave, like caramel chocolate drizzles. Happier holidays. Chex Party Mix.
Here's me. And here's my depression. Before I started taking Abilify, I was taking an antidepressant alone. Most of the time I could pull myself together and face the day. But other days I still struggled with my depression. I was coping, but sometimes it really weighed me down. I've been feeling stuck for a long time. I just couldn't shake my depression. So I talked to my doctor, and he added Abilify to my antidepressant. He said it could help with my depression, and that some people had symptom improvement as early as 1 to 2 weeks. I'm glad I talked to him. I wish I'd done it sooner. Now I feel more in control of my depression.
Abilify is not for everyone. Call your doctor if your depression worsens or you have unusual changes in behavior or thoughts of suicide. Antidepressants can increase these in children, teens, and young adults. Elderly dementia patients taking Abilify have an increased risk of death or stroke. Call your doctor if you have high fever, stiff muscles, and confusion to address a possible life-threatening condition, or if you have uncontrollable muscle movements, as these could become permanent. High blood sugar has been reported with Abilify and medicines like it. In some cases, extreme high blood sugar can lead to coma or death. Other risks include decreases in white blood cells, which can be serious, dizziness upon standing, seizures, trouble swallowing, and impaired judgment or motor skills.
My depression used to be more of a burden. Then my doctor added Abilify to my antidepressant. Now I feel better.
If you're still struggling with depression, talk to your doctor to see if the option of adding Abilify is right for you. And be sure to ask about the free trial offer.
Closed captioning brought to you by Meineke Car Care Center.
Meineke's personal pricing on brakes.
I tell you what I can spend.
I do my best to make it work.
I'm back on the road safely.
And I saved you money on brakes.
Well, that's personal pricing.
I enjoy being around children, and I enjoy their enthusiasm. I just have a good time with them. Kids are growing up awfully fast today. It isn't what happens to you that's important. It's how you react to it. One of the biggest things would be the trust that would be developed. What we're trying to be is what we think to be is a true friend.
That was a 1987 NBC News interview with Jerry Sandusky talking about his work with children. So why do pedophiles seem to gravitate towards what we would call respected institutions? The Catholic Church, for instance, hid and protected hundreds of pedophiles that threatened its very foundation. The Boy Scouts had its scandal. Heath, is it fair to compare those institutions with Penn State?
I think it is, and I think there's really only one reason. I mean, there's just more pickings, and I know that sounds very, very bad and insensitive.
No,
but
they
it's
go where there are young boys.
Yes, and then the good pedophiles, like you said, they will find the weaker ones that they think they can manipulate, and then that's what ends up happening.
I think there's also the other issue of there being those institutional safeguards and protections that are in place that are built in, the mechanisms that they can take advantage of. Look, you go, and there are protections, and there are these policies and procedures, and they embed themselves in those policies and procedures, and they get the protections from them. There's a hierarchy that they find themselves at the very top of, and so they really they get there, and they're able to nest. They get there, they're able to groom these young kids.
They
get something, they build loyalty from
the children and the institution.
Right. Yes. It all stems from that, and I think there's no coincidence that we find it with the Boy Scouts, we find it with the Catholic Church, and now we find it with this college, a large, huge state institution.
Now, many people want to know what a pedophile looks like, so to speak. I mean, they look like anybody, but let me read you some characteristics of a pedophile and how they operate. Now, first of all, they can be anyone. That's what you got to remember. It doesn't differentiate how people appear. Often, however, it's a male, often over 30. They often prefer children close to puberty. Pedophiles work, of course, around children, as we're saying. They target children that are shy, handicapped, withdrawn. Of course, children at risk, that is, say, who have been abandoned, neglected, or abused themselves. Sometimes they come from underprivileged homes. They shower kids with gifts and attention. And Michelle, that sounds exactly like the way Sandusky was operating.
Absolutely. I mean, again, these individuals choose their victims very specifically. They may be the single mother, so that they don't have the mother is single, they don't have to deal with
Michelle,
that.
I think an important thing for people to remember is that for those people argue, for instance, that disciplining kids is okay, hitting kids, that kind of thing, those are kids that become perfect victims for victimizers of all types. Anybody disagree with that statement?
Absolutely not.
Yeah. No, you disagree.
No, I don't.
You
absolutely
agree.
do not disagree with that statement.
So those of you that are not paying attention to your kids or are physically abusing your kids or are having any kind of violence in the home or emotional abuse in the home, you are potentially putting you at risk for victimization by guys like this.
And we should be very interested if there's someone who is taking a big interest in our child all of a sudden, and it doesn't really feel right or it doesn't make sense. But this individual, he really specifically targeted these kids.
It's perfect.
Yeah.
Yes.
These are the at-risk youth.
Well, these are the kids that don't have a mom and dad at home teaching them appropriate touch. I mean, I've got a 7 and a 4-year-old. They know.
Heath, I'm going to ask you to stop because your wife was a victim of sexual abuse.
Yes.
Yes. And does she mind us talking about this?
No.
Yeah.
No.
And you work with these organizations that
Yes.
serve this community. And I want you to point out how a victimizer works with these kids that are hungry for attention.
Well, I mean, listen, we all love affection. I mean, I love it from my wife. I loved it from my parents. It is a natural, like, God-given instinct. And so these predators, they search out these kids that don't get it at home. And then ultimately, I think these predators, because they were abused themselves most time, they feel like they're doing something good for these kids. You saw it in Sandusky's verbiage. You build trust, and we teach them the good things in life. All this verbiage.
Things they need.
Exactly.
Good for them.
Yes.
And we're just horsing around in the shower, guys. What's the big deal?
And they're that delusional.
That's right. And as a result of there being physical violence at home, and it doesn't always happen that way, but in many instances
It can,
does.
is the point. It can. If
Yeah.
you're,
And the fact
the
is,
parents need to be
that's
aware
right.
of this.
They begin to devalue the physical touch. They begin to devalue their bodies in that way, and as a result of being abused physically, spanked or hit or smacked around, suddenly when someone touches them in an inappropriate way, that's okay because it's consistent with the devaluing of their own body.
Well, and they start slowly.
And the boundaries.
Yes,
Poor
and they
boundaries.
start slowly. That is what grooming is.
We've heard, but
And-
Michelle, we've heard from stories from some of the young men that worked with him that when he would ride on long car trips with the boys, he would start by putting his hand on their knee. And the kids that didn't get a little bit weirded by that, he'd put the hand somewhere else and then
He would
end up in the
see-
shower
it's like
horsing around.
Testing the limits. And the thing, you know, I work with sexual abuse survivors all the time.
We all do, right? To one way or another. Trent, you're through the legal system.
And
Keith, you're
one of the
them?
things that is also very confusing, even for some of these boys, I'm sure, is that when they're being touched, there may be moments that it feels good.
It does.
It's our bodies can't help but react.
We're sexual beings.
We are. You start touching.
Then they feel extra guilty and extra responsible and extra ashamed, and then they really can't speak up.
And that's the lie that sets in their minds. And then they said, well, I was an active part of this because it felt good, and he told me this, so that is true. That is the biggest thing that we battle, because the victim, they put themselves in that role of, I was responsible. But that's where it goes back. We have to teach kids what is appropriate touch. I mean, my hands are constantly all over my girls because I want them to know what proper love and affection is. And then our kids don't know because these are at-risk kids that don't have a mom and dad, that don't have people instilling those things in them.
Isn't it also fair to say that it's that guilt that is the engine that allows us to continue to move forward because they're afraid of going public. They're afraid of telling someone that matters because suddenly they'll feel like, wow, I'm guilty. I'm going to get this person who otherwise cares for me. I'm going to get that person, especially with the males.
Let's talk about the solutions then. First, Trent, what is the solution from the legal standpoint?
From a legal standpoint, I think we have to do a much better job of investigating stories, kids, even at a young age, who come and they tell us that this guy's touched me inappropriately. Sometimes kids don't use that word. They wouldn't use an inappropriate as a word. They might say, he touched me kind of funny. He touched me in a way that didn't make me happy.
It was weird.
I think we need to pay attention to those signs, and I think at the moment that happens, a mother, a father, or caregiver needs to go to the institution, and it needs to be taken seriously.
Cops,
typically, it is
police.
That's right.
Police,
Cops,
and
police.
most states have a requirement for people that work with kids. Children's Services.
Those are called mandatory. Those are called mandatory reporters. I don't think mandatory reporters have to take it to the law
the kids, the institution of Penn State really knew what their reporting requirements are. I have a suspicion they didn't know. But let me say one more. I got a minute left. Either of you guys, how do we deal with these kids once they've been gotten at? It's a long process to heal. Can you nutshell it for people to understand? So it doesn't become something transgenerational, which inevitably it is, something that's passed on to other kids, that other victims become part of the picture here? What do we do? How do we treat them?
Again, obviously you start with individual therapy, family
but there
therapy.
are resources for kids anymore.
We're providing it.
There you go.
And
How do you do
obviously
it?
we're located in certain states, but we're here to fight that battle.
And Dr. Drew, what we have to do is our culture has to change. This is a paradigm shift. I really believe that this is a monumental moment, that if we use it, our media power and our society, we can actually make great change.
Thank you guys.
Can bring this to an end.
I hope so. That's why we're spending this time talking about it. I also hope the Penn State students help lead us out of this. They have an opportunity as well. Next, what in the world did the parents miss? What are the warning signs? Can you see, should we call it evil? It's not really evil because it could look like a good guy. After this.
My sinus congestion. And it's your fault.
Instead of blaming me, try Advil Congestion Relief. Often the real problem is swelling, not mucus. Advil Congestion Relief reduces swelling due to nasal inflammation.
So I could breathe.
Advil Congestion Relief.
What's better than gold? Free gold. We call that Hertz Gold Plus rewards. You earn free days, free weeks, and more fast. That's a plus. Upgrade your ride. That's a plus. Rewards with no blackout days, so you can redeem anytime. And it's easy to redeem your points online. Already a Gold member? Just select Gold Plus Rewards in your profile and start rewarding yourself now. Just go to HertzGoldPlusRewards.com to join. Hertz Gold Plus Rewards. Journey on.
Sometimes life can be, well, a little uncomfortable. But when it's hard or hurts to go to the bathroom, there's Dulcolac Stool Softener. Dulcolac Stool Softener doesn't make you go, it just makes it easier to go. Dulcolac Stool Softener. Make yourself comfortable.
Philips Sonicare. The #1 recommended power toothbrush by dental professionals. Now with up to 4 times better plaque removal, it's the ultimate clean. Try Philips Sonicare. Dental professionals love it, and so will you.
What makes the Sleep Number store different?
You walk into a conventional mattress store, it's really not about you.
They say, well, if you want a firm bed, you can lie on one of those. If you want a soft bed, you can lie on one of those. We provide the exact individualization that your body needs.
Welcome to the Sleep Number store's semi-annual sleep sale. Not just ordinary beds on sale, but the bed that can change your life on sale. The Sleep Number bed. It calibrates precisely to your body and your comfort zone.
Now you can feel what happens as we raise your sleep number setting and allow the bed to contour to your individual shape.
Oh, yeah.
It's really shaping to my body. Don't miss incredible $500 savings on our classic special edition bed set while supplies last.
You can adjust it however you want, so you don't have to worry about buying the wrong mattress.
Once they get our bed, they're like, why didn't I do this sooner?
Hurry. It's the final week of the semi-annual sleep sale on the bed that can change your life. The Sleep Number bed. Only through Sunday and only at the Sleep Number store, where queen mattresses start at just $6.99.
I joined because one of my mom's best friends met her husband on Match. My girlfriend met her new fiancé.
The world has changed. 1 in 5 relationships now begin on an online dating site.
3 or 4 of my friends got married to people that they met on Match. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Here it goes.
My cousin met his wife on Match. My brother met his girl. I guess you could say Match runs in the family.
Match.com. More dates, more relationships, and more marriages than any other site.
I'm on Match for a reason. It just works.
Start for free today.
Agents, name these critters.
These are the sweet little animals that run into the road and cause car crashes.
Deer alone caused billions in damage.
So what do?
We talk to our customers to make sure they understand their options in case these guys ever cross their path.
Boat insurance? Second door down on your left. Thanks, man.
We are insurance.
We are farmers. Bum, ba, bum, 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 bum.
Exclusive. She's the first country music singer to publicly say, I'm gay. Shelley Wright tells Joy how hard it was to share this and what she was afraid of. HLN next. Penn State community churches come together in support for the alleged child sex abuse victims. Dr. Drew talks with a pastor who put it all together. HLN tomorrow night, 9 Eastern.
And at some point he came to you and he said he wanted some information about how to look up sex weirdos?
Yes.
What did you think of that?
I asked him who he was looking up, and he said he wanted to see if Jerry was on there. And I said, well, why would you look him up? And he said, I don't know, he's a weirdo.
That was a mother whose son was allegedly raped by the accused pedophile Jerry Sandusky. She spoke about it on ABC's Good Morning America, which brings us to a last question I want each of you to respond to. Is we've sort of been talking around and around what a pedophile is, what they look like, who are they. And my question is, and we've talked about empowering young kids. We heard Ed Smart talking about it earlier, and I really felt that he was talking about his own guilt about not really raising kids to understand this issue. Ultimately, aren't we talking about teaching kids to trust their instincts? And how do we get them to do that? Heath, I'll start with you.
Obviously, you speak freely at home. And with our two daughters, I mean, people have questioned how vocal we are with a 7- and a 4-year-old little girl. But ultimately, we feel like we instill those safety values in the home. What is appropriate.
Reinforce it. Show good boundaries. Reinforce speaking up. Michelle.
Absolutely. Talk about what is really happening, what really could happen, and who could touch them and who can't.
What about people that say you're going to freak your kids out?
They're wrong.
They're
dead
They
wrong.
are absolutely wrong. They need to be empowered. And you know what? Adults, we need to keep our voices loud.
Yes. Our instincts.
Our instincts, and we
to.
need to speak up as adults to protect children.
Agreed. Trent?
Give our kids voices. Allow them to have their authentic voice and allow them to feel like I can say whatever I want to say to mom and dad. Let them know that they're empowered. Let them know that they're empowered in a way that they can come to us and they can be honest with us, even if it sounds like it's a little bit weird, but they can tell us if that uncle touches them in an inappropriate way. They can tell us if that teacher touches them, says something to them in an inappropriate way, offers them something that they're not comfortable with. We have to empower the children. We've got to let them know that it's okay to come to us.
We are going to support them in all situations.
Yes.
We will support
and we'll believe them.
Thank you guys for staying with me tonight. This is such an important issue. I know all of us feel very passionately about this, and I've just got a couple words before we go out tonight. Now, let me say it again. People that are abused sometimes become the abusers. The chance that child victims become adult perpetrators, some people say as high as 50%. So there's a real conundrum in all this. What are we doing right now to see that boys and girls who get abused or are violated in any way, whether it's physical, sexual, emotional abuse, we must make sure they get help. First, we need to know that something has happened. So kids, difficult it is. You've heard this panel saying we've got to get them to speak up. We've got to listen to children. And by the way, if you yourself have been a victim of any kind of abuse, it's going to be really hard for you to hear these kids. To think that something that was so painful for you is going on in your kids, it's shattering. Hear it, okay? Kids, open up to an adult you trust. Whatever happened, not your fault. And by the way, even as an adult, as you get older, you still feel like it's something that you did. There's something flawed in you that caused this thing. No, you can always get help. You can be helped no matter what age you are or when this happened. Please, we must stop this cycle. It becomes transgenerational. It's something that will affect your kids and their kids. Abuse of any kind, report it to authorities. This is true for all of us. If you learn nothing else tonight, airlift yourself to the authorities. They are there to help you, not to punish. Thank you all for listening and watching. I'll see you next time.